Welcome back to Downstairs, the story I've been creating in Infinite Stories, the tool I've been working on for quite some time to create branching or choose your own adventure stories. We're following Elise, who is the youngest of a family of four. And to not keep you waiting too long, I'll jump right in with the last chapter we left off, where we call out for our parents just after the door closed to the spooky door. The darkness was absolute, a physical weight pressing in on Elise. Her voice, when she finally found it, was a thin thread of sound lost in the void. Mom? Dad? The words were barely a whisper, swallowed by the oppressive air. She strained her ears, listening for any response, any sign that her family was still on the other side of the now impenetrable door. The metallic, sickly sweet scent intensified, making her stomach churn. A faint, scuttling sound, like dry leaves skittering across stone, echoed from somewhere far below, sending a fresh wave of ice through her veins. She squeezed her eyes shut, wishing for the light, for anything but the suffocating blackness. I tried to feel my way down the stairs. I pounded on the door behind me. Well, I tried calling out already, so I think it's time to go downstairs. The darkness was a tangible entity, pressing in on Elise from all sides. She held her breath, forcing her eyes to adjust, though there was no light to see. Tentatively, she extended a hand, her fingers brushing against the rough, splintered wood of the descending stair. The air grew colder with each inch she lowered herself, the metallic tang sharpening, and the faint scuttling sound grew louder, closer. It was no longer like dry leaves, but something more deliberate, a rhythmic click scrape that seemed to circle her in the black. A sudden sharp pain shot up her arm as her hand gazed something small and sharp. Cry out in pain, I pull my hand back quickly. I think we can cry out in pain. Chapter 11. A sharp cry tore from Elise's throat. As a burning pain shot up her arm, she recoiled instinctively, stumbling backwards on the precautious stair. The scuttling sound erupted into a flurry of movement all around her, a chorus of tiny, sharp clicks, scrapes that seemed to echo from the very walls. The metallic scent intensified, thick and suffocating, making her lungs burn. She could feel more than see the darkness shifting, coalescing into countless small, unseen forms starting just beyond her reach. Panic threatened to consume her, her mind desperately grasping for another memory of sunlight, of a mother's touch, of anything that wasn't this suffocating, terrifying black. I scramble blindly up the stairs. I try to fight whatever is there, and we're fighting. The sharp pain jolted Elise out of her daze, a primal instinct screaming at her to defend herself. She swung her arms widely, her small hands flailing against the unseen assailants. Her fingers brushed against something hard and chitinous, eliciting another chorus of angry clicks. The darkness pulsed with unseen life, a thousand tiny feet skittering over stone and wood. She felt a sharp pinch on her leg, then another one in her arm. Each prick of pain fueled a desperate rage. She let out a guttural scream, no longer a cry of fear, but a battle cry against the encroaching darkness. I tried to find the wall to guide me, I stay still and listen to their movements. Actually, I start kicking at everything that moves. And we go that route. The darkness pulsed and withered around Elise, a symphony of clicking and skittering. Her kicks connected with something solid, sending a shower of tiny bodies scattering with renewed ferocity. She felt a sharp impact on her shin, then another on her ankle, but the pain was a distant hum beneath the roar of adrenaline. The air thrummed with a malevolent energy, and the acrid scent grew stronger, stinging her nostrils. She continued her frantic assault, a desperate dance against the unseen horde, her small body fueled by a desperate will to survive. The unseen thing seemed to surge and resent with each blow. A tide of tiny terrors seeped forward with every fiber of her being. I try to find the stairs again, or I continue to fight whatever is there. I'm still fighting. No chance to back down. Elise fought with a ferocity that surprised even herself, her small legs a blur of motion in the absolute dark. Each kick was a desperate prayer, a defiant stand against the unseen horrors that swarmed around her. She felt the brittle crunch of tiny exoskeletons beneath her shoes, the sickening scrape of them scattering only to regroup moments later. The air vibrated with their unseen fury, a thousand tiny voices hissing and clicking in a terrifying symptom. A wave of them surged, and she felt sharp, needle-like pains all over her legs and arms, drawing blood through her thin pajamas. Despite the pain, a sliver of something akin to triumph flickering within her as she heard a distant, heavy thud, as if one of the larger unseen things had been dislodged or crushed by her relentless assault. I try to climb back up the stairs, or I continue to lash out at the swarm. I think my parents do need me soon, so I try to get back. The cacophony of clicking and skittering intensifies as Elise desperately tried to retreat. She scrambled backwards, her hands finding the rough wood of the stairs again, searching for purchase. The unseen creatures swarmed her feet, their tiny sharp bodies digging into her skin, but the desperate need to escape propelled her upwards. She felt a sudden, sickening lurch as the stair beneath her gave way with a splintering crack. Her foot plunged through, and a fresh wave of icy dread washed over her as she realized she was now more entangled than before. The thudding sound echoed again, this time closer, as if whatever had made it was now aware of her struggles. I screamed for my parents while I tried to pull my leg free. Since I previously tried to call out to them, we need to continue to struggle to get away. The splintering wood bit into Elise's leg, trapping her further in the abyss. She tugged with all her might, a desperate, guttural cry escaping her limbs as the tiny creatures continued their relentless assault. The clicking and scraping sounds morphed into a low, guttural growl that seemed to emanate from the very darkness itself. Another thud, louder this time, shook the precautious structure around her. She could feel the immense pressure building, the darkness seeming to press down with a physical weight, as if the house itself was groaning under the strain. The smell of decay and something metallic, like old blood, filled her lungs, making her gag. I called for help from my parents, tried to break the stairs with my foot. Actually, I think I struggle free and escape the hordes to the top of the stairs. With a final desperate heave, Elise wrenched her leg free from the splintering wood. The sharp pain was a dull throb now, overshadowed by the sheer terror of the skittering horde. She scrambled backwards, her hands finding the solid stone of the wall at the base of the stairs, using it for leverage. The clinging and scraping sound followed her. Sorry about that. A relentless tide of tiny horrors, eager to reclaim their prize. She didn't dare look back, her eyes fixed on the faint, almost imperceptible line of light that marked the top of the stairs. Wait, why is there light? Oh well, AI generated. Uh, each upward surge was a victory against the darkness that clawed at her heels, a desperate fight for the familiar world above. I collapsed at the top of the stairs. I slammed the door shut behind me. So since the door was still locked, this is unlikely. I see my parents at the top of the stairs. Maybe they cried it open, right? Tears streamed down Elise's face as she finally reached the top of the stairs, gasping for air. Her parents stood silhouette against the dim hallway light, their faces etched with horror and relief. Her mother rushed forward, putting Elise into a fierce embrace. The scent of her familiar perfume, a balm on Elise's ravaged senses. Father's hand rested on her shoulder, a gesture of solid comfort in the face of the unnamed terrors she just had escaped. But as the adrenaline faded, Elise felt a chilling emptiness. The door that once has been locked now was slightly ajar, and the faint, sickly sweet smell of decay still clung to the air. I asked my parents how they opened the door. Otherwise, it wouldn't make too much sense. Tears still slicked Elise's cheeks as she pulled away from her mother's tight embrace, her voice trembling. "How did you open the door?" she whispers, her eye darting back to the dark rectangle where the terrifying creatures had tried to drag her into oblivion. Her parents exchanged a haunted look, their faces pale in the dim light of the hallway. Her father's hand tightened on her shoulder. "We didn't, Elise," he said, his voice low and strained. "It just opened again after you went down." The chilling implications hung heavy in the air, suggesting the darkness had a will of its own, a hunger that only Elise had truly faced. I look back down the stairs. I demand to leave the house. Well, I think this is another great point to stop for today. The story is developing nicely, in my opinion. Some things can still be optimized in the tool, as expected. But that's the beauty of just being able to change it on the fly and extending custom instructions and doing whatever is necessary to create a good branching story. I think next time around I will I will start in a different direction. If, like, currently we're in chapter, I don't know what it was, 19 or something. So I think we will go back to the very first chapter and see where it leads us if we start on a different route from the very beginning. Maybe we'll go into the darkness again. Maybe we don't, who knows? If you prefer to continue the current branch of the story, please don't hesitate to write me in the story, or if you're interested in a completely new one, always willing to listen to suggestions. Thanks a lot for listening. Bye.